10:58 a.m. Mix-Up should be opening any minute for the new Metallica release, 72 Seasons. Que emocionante. I want to do an Indiana Jones and slide under that door right now. I'll be patient and wait another few seconds. Clickbait. That's what this video is. That's what the title of this video is. Despite the, as you just saw moments ago, for me hours ago, that I was in at Mix-Up, that's at Galerias Cuernavaca, in my city, Cuernavaca by the way, where I was going to buy 72 Seasons, the new Metallica album. Today is April 14th, 2023. Today is the release date. And if you notice, I don't have the record. If you also notice, I don't even have the CD. You know why? It's because I live in fucking Mexico. And in fucking Mexico, shit doesn't happen the way it's supposed to happen. This record, which was announced in November, was supposed to come out today. And it did everywhere in the world except in Mexico. I went to Mix-Up, as you saw, and now I had seen on their website, even as recently as last night, that it was coming out today. It said that it was, they had the three, and I don't care about the color, but they had violet vinyl, red, and black. And I think I went to check it I was going to order it a week ago or something, but I thought, by the time it, they probably wouldn't send it until after April 14th, and it wouldn't get here until a week later. So I thought I would rather just go there and get it like the way that we used to, us old people, the way that we used to buy records on release days, which used to be Tuesday. And so long it said April 14th. Metallica is probably the biggest band in the world. Arguably, this is probably the biggest release of the year. I don't know who else is putting out an album this year that's going to be bigger, that's going to sell more physical copies than Metallica, unless it's Billie Eilish, or I don't know if Madonna has a record coming out, probably not, or who sells more records than Metallica these days? Not very many people, especially if it's this year in 2023. So I went to check it last night. I think I was checking the price or something to make sure I had enough, to see if I had enough cash with me, or if I was going to have to go to the cajero, the bank machine, the ATM, or if I was going to use my card. And even as of last night, it said preventa, pre-sale, release date April 14th. So as you just saw, I waited outside Mix-Up. This is really sad, but maybe also good. I took the day off work to go buy the new Metallica album at 11 o'clock in the morning when the record store, if you could call it that, opened. And it takes about half an hour to drive there. It's on as far as you can really. It's like this. I live in the northwest of Cuernavaca. This mall where Mix-Up was is in the southeast. It's almost as far apart as 2 points can be in my city. And this is long already. And I went in there, and after I made my comment about how excited I was to go in Indiana Jones style, I got in there, played it cool. I was going to say I didn't finish close that circle. I took the day off work, the morning off work, to go get it. Drove a long way. You have to pay for parking. Gas is expensive here. All for naught. That's, I believe, N-A-U-G-H-T, not N-O-T. And I looked around, and I was playing it cool, and I didn't see it. You'd think they would have a big display of it, and it's yellow. It's very easy to find. And there was nothing. And I thought, And I looked, and if you didn't see it right away, I wasn't going to be there. And I said, "You don't have the new Metallica record?" And the guy said, "No, it's coming out April 25th." So it seems everywhere in the world, because I've seen people posting about it and pictures from all over the world of 72 Seasons, the new Metallica album that came out today, apparently in everywhere in the world except Metallica. Now, you'd think this video would be shorter, because since there's no actual physical unboxing, that the video will be shorter, but it's going to be longer because I'm going to rant about Mexico a little bit. This is why people laugh at Mexico, and why Mexico has the reputation it does, and why people think negative thoughts about Mexico, because of crap like this. And I'll tell you 3 or 4 examples. I can think of at least 3 concerts that I've been to that were canceled on the spot. I was there along with, in some cases, thousands of other people. The first one that I'm talking about is Molotov, a pretty famous Mexican band. They were playing here in Cuernavaca 5 years ago, maybe, and we had tickets. Went there, thousands of people, and we were waiting in line to go in. And all of a sudden, there was like a rumbling in the crowd, and people started getting angry. And this was minutes before they were supposed to open the doors. The concert was canceled because the guy or the company, whoever was putting it on, didn't have the proper permits. So the whole thing got shut down, and that concert never happened. Most recently, I talked about this a little bit a few months ago. I think it was in December. I went to see the Bunions and some others. I love the Bunions. I talked about them on this series maybe a month ago because their new album, their first album debut, called Beefcake, just came out. And I went to go see them in December. They were playing a show at a park, a skate park within a park, and went there for the day. And it's a pain in the ass sometimes. It takes a lot of time. It costs a lot of money to do these things. And I make an effort to do them. And I went there in the skate park and saw people skateboarding. Didn't see any sign of a concert whatsoever. Checked social media. As far as social media said, the concert was still happening. Well, it turned out that the concert didn't happen at all. It had been canceled that day because the organizers, I guess it was the city of Mexico, couldn't get the proper power supply or something like that. So they canceled it. The bands never posted about it on social media. The city never posted about it. Whoever. Nobody posted about it. So I spent a lot of time and effort going there, and that didn't happen. And then years before that, I went to see the Rising Sun, one of my favorite Mexican bands, also in Mexico City, and got there and went to go to the box office to get a ticket, and then the guy said, it's not happening. And we said, what the hell are you talking about? And then the band came short time after, the Rising Sun came after. I told them, I said, so the show's canceled? They said, no. I said, well, they just told me at the box office it's canceled. And they went up to the box office, and they told the band, yeah, it's canceled. So the band didn't even know. And that's Mexico. Now, the most egregious and horrible and international example of this, in 2021, and I will get to Metallica. I am going to talk about Metallica 72 Seasons. I just can't show you the actual vinyl as I had planned on, nor even a CD. But I will talk about the album, and I'll talk about Metallica too. And yeah, I think it was in November 2021. There's supposed to be an NFL game. I think the NFL had an agreement with Mexico City that they were going to have a game here every year. And they had them, I think, a couple years before that. And it was going to be the Chiefs and the Rams. And at that time, those were the two biggest, the hottest teams in the NFL. And they were going to play at Estadio Azteca, a big 100,000-seat stadium in Mexico City, one of the biggest stadiums in the world. They hosted the World Cup in 1968. And again in 1986, or no, the Olympics in 1968, the World Cup I think in 72, and then the World Cup again in 86. Huge stadium. And 2 or 3 days before and they had known about this years in advance. 2 or 3 days before the game was supposed to happen, it was going to be a Monday Night Football game. I don't know how this happened, if the NFL inspects the facilities. Anyway, what happened was, with years of notice, the NFL decreed or decided that this field is not in suitable condition for play, so it was canceled. So NFL, the biggest sporting league in the world, and you know, not arguably, for sure, the biggest sports organization or sports league in North America, had to cancel in Mexico City because the people that run the stadium, I guess, couldn't get their shit together and couldn't get the field ready in time. They had over a year to prepare for it. So the game wasn't canceled. The game ended up they ended up playing it somewhere else. Ended up being like a 53-50 game. I think it was the first time in NFL history that both teams had scored 50 points or more. Not that would have happened in Mexico City, but just an example of, this is the NFL. There's not too many more organizations more powerful than the NFL in sports anyway. And it was canceled just because, I kind of got the impression that a week before the game, the Mexico City government or the people at the stadium said, "Oh shit, yeah, we have a game next week. Oh yeah, let's start getting ready for it." And obviously they couldn't do it. And think of how much money is lost by that, by not just the stadium and the city, but individual people who are going to go and sell T-shirts, the beer sales, the parking, everything was lost. And that's just Mexican incompetence. And it is true. Go ahead. You have my permission to. I've lived here 17 years, and I know about Mexico. I know how things work. And it's just garbage, just complete incompetence, lack of any foresight, I think. There's no reason why this Metallica album couldn't have been released today. I don't know what the reason was. It was announced in November. This was December, January, February, March. What's that? Five months they had to get this ready. Why was it available everywhere else in the world except Mexico? Because it's Mexico. And I could go on and give you many more examples, but I'll stop there. So I don't have the physical product, and also that kind of makes me lose my mojo to buy. You know, it's not opening day. I was thinking about baseball. It's release day, and that used to be a big thing for me. It hasn't really been a big thing. I don't really buy too many CDs or records these days. But part of the allure of buying it was that it's release day. Even buying it tomorrow just wouldn't have been the same. I used to love, when I lived in Canada, going to record stores on it used to be Tuesdays. I think I mentioned that. Release days used to be Tuesday, and it used to be so exciting to go after school when I was a teenager, or even later as I was an adult, go after work to go buy the records on that day, and it was just very, very exciting. I wanted to recreate that. I can't remember the last time I did that. I think really the only bands that I really have that loyalty to now are still Metallica, Iron Maiden, Pearl Jam. Metallica far more than anybody though, and this would have been the first new record that I would have bought since 1989, and the first Metallica record, album, vinyl, whatever you want to call it, that I would have bought since 1988 when I bought "And Justice for All." I bought all the CDs after that, probably on release day. And now, so this is coming out on April 28th, and I don't know, maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't. And now, now I think by 2 weeks, the luster, the allure of a new record being released will be kind of lost on me. I got it yesterday. I downloaded it yesterday. I've listened to it a couple of times in full yesterday. I listened to it on the way to the record store, mix up, whatever you want to call it today, and on the way back. And it's just, in a couple of weeks, it's things get old very quickly. And maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't, but now I just think, well, I not out of spite or anything, because who am I, who am I punishing by doing that? Only myself. Maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't, but the excitement of it, it's gone. And also this was a big deal. They had Metallica had the 72 Seasons global listening party last night, including Mexico. It was shown in theaters all over the world, including in Mexico. Some of my friends went to it last night in different parts of Mexico. They went to the cinema, to the theater to watch it, and they got that together. But they can't produce the actual product. This thing that they were supposed to be promoting with this movie. Nobody in Mexico, as far as I know, can buy it today. Just disgraceful, and unfortunately, typically Mexican. And I had mentioned to my friend Kevin Montalban, who may be watching this. I'll send this to him. A couple of days ago, on Wednesday, he had told me that he lives in Columbus, Ohio. He had told me that he was going to see the movie last night, and his local record store near him was opening at midnight to sell it, and just like the old days. And I said, oh, that's cool. And I don't know if I said that's cool or not. I thought that's cool, but I said, yeah, I'm going to buy it on release day, and meaning today, and how excited I was for it. It's just so disappointing that not to mention the time wasted. God, that hundreds and hundreds, maybe more of hours that I've wasted in this country just for garbage, just because people can't get their shit together. It's staggering. But that's it. So now I will talk about, not the album, but I'll talk about briefly, I hope, about Metallica. In case you haven't guessed, I love Metallica. I'm an old Metallica fan. I got into Metallica in 1983. I talked about their whole discography a couple of years ago. If you want to go back, you can find that. And I bought Kill 'Em All in December 1983. I remember I found $10. I was going downtown Toronto with my friend Daniel McClellan, and I found $10 on the subway, and I went downtown, and I ended up buying Kill 'Em All. I'd heard some songs at that point, but I bought it. I guess that was sometime in December 1983. And they're maybe the only band that I've never disliked Metallica. I've never really had a problem with them. Not musically. I didn't like Reload at all. Saint Anger, I liked it more than most people, but I'm not talking about musically. Metallica is despite what some people think, what a lot of people think, Metallica is a very, very fan-friendly band. They do everything great. They do a good job, I think, of keeping themselves on people's minds. They never really go away, but I don't think they overdo it. You never get tired of them. Now, there is something that they did very recently that changed that. Something that I really, really hate about Metallica. Maybe the first thing that they've done that really, really bothers me. Everything else they do, I think, is great. And I will talk about that momentarily, I think, if I can remember the order. I want to talk about things. But Metallica has always done the right thing. Like having this movie premiere last night, or, the record premiere in movie theaters was awesome. They release all their show, every concert they do, you can download it. They produce video of every show, obviously high quality, in-house, shot by Metallica video. They're just always doing something. Maybe you don't like all their musical moves, but at least in terms of and Pearl Jam, they're not as good as they used to be, but Pearl Jam is very good with that too. And Iron Maiden, maybe those are the reason why I support these bands. So that's why Metallica has always been, and I would make the argument that Metallica is my favorite band ever, not Kiss. Some of you may know, you're going to hear this again. I got into Kiss in 1976. I have a Kiss tattoo. I have my first Kiss record that I ever got in 1976 down there. But Kiss sucked for a large part through the 80s. Unlike Metallica, Kiss made a lot of bad moves. Kiss definitely has the nostalgic number one spot. When I think about my favorite band, Metallica has been around long enough that I could consider that, for all those who are interested in my personal rankings. Now, the one thing that Metallica did recently that I don't like, that I really don't like, it really, really bothers me, kind of two things together. One that I love, and then the other part that I hate. The part that I love is they announced this album out of nowhere. I remember it very well. It was on November. I remember it as if it was November 28th, 2022. And I was down at the river, swimming in the river, which I will be also again this Monday. I will have video of that. I was swimming down at the river, and there's no internet down there. And when I got back into civilization, you have to hike down there. It's hot. It's in a valley, mountains around there. Nobody there, just me and my friend. It's not a park. It's just very rustic, and it's hard to get to. You can't drive there. You have to walk down there. When I got back into civilization, or when I got a signal, I got a message from my aforementioned friend, Kevin Montavon, dropping this huge news that Metallica, new album, new song, new tour, all announced on November 28th, 2022. The album was called 72 Seasons. The song was Lux Eterna, which I will talk about at some point if I can get to it. And they also announced the tour to support this album at that time. Now, this is where it gets good and bad. Again, another reason why I love Metallica is they do things very differently. Instead of just saying, we're doing a tour, we're going out and we're going to tour the world and we're going to, do all these shows and in all these cities, whatever. They did something very, very different. They said, we're going to do 2 nights. We're going to choose these, major cities in Europe and North America. And we're going to do 2 nights in each city, and they're going to be completely different set lists every night. Each city is going to be on, the concerts in each city are going to be on a Friday and a Sunday, and there's going to be no repeats. So you're only going to hear Enter Sandman once, and Nothing Else Matters, and Sad But True, and Master of Puppets. Maybe people wouldn't complain about hearing that twice. But all the songs that you're tired of hearing, you're only going to hear them once. I thought, that's great. What a great idea. Instead of just going out and doing the same old, tour like everybody else, they're doing something very original. Now, what I later found out, what I didn't like about that, actually shortly after, even that same day, The Mexico City, now remember, this was November 28th. The Mexico City concerts were in, oh, now quickly going back to Mexico City and the fuck up by not having their actual physical product available today, like it should be. Mexico is, and I guess specifically Mexico City, is by far their biggest market in the world. It's the only show, the only city on this tour where they're playing 4 nights. They're playing 2 weekends. They're playing Friday and Sunday one week, and then next week also Friday and Sunday. Everywhere else, 2 nights. Mexico 4. They played the last, when they came around on the Hardwire tour, they played 3 nights at the same, and this is in a big stadium. They played 3 nights at the stadium. When they came in 2009, they played 3 nights at the stadium, which is 50 or 60, 65, 55,000 capacity. They came in 2012, they played 8 nights at the arena, which is about a 20 or 22,000 capacity, sold them all out. It's by far their biggest market. So I don't know how Mexico, whose fault this was, but somehow they fucked that up. But what I really didn't like about this was the show. The concerts are going to be in September. Remember, this was announced in November 2022. The concerts are in September, not September 2023, September 2024. These shows were announced almost 2 years in advance. Unbelievable. I thought, my God, like that's like, I can't plan things 2 years in advance. And so then when tickets went on sale, now they're playing at Foro Sol, the stadium. I've seen I've seen Metallica there 4 or 5 times. I've seen Iron Maiden there 4, 5, 6 times. I've seen Foo Fighters there a couple times, Rolling Stones, U2. I don't know, all the biggest bands play at this stadium. And when I saw Iron Maiden most recently, which was in September last year, September 2022, tickets were, and you can Google this to your local currency, but just to put it into perspective, tickets were 500, 550, 580, let's even say 600 pesos, okay? When I saw Foo Fighters at the same stadium last year, a little bit before Iron Maiden, tickets were around the same price, so in the 500-600 range. Just think of these as numbers. Forget about what that converts to in whatever your currency is. These Metallica tickets, the cheapest ones in the same stadium are $1,400. Almost, I mean, 600. Let's say the Iron Maiden and Foo Fighters last year were 600, 1,400 now. What's that? 240% higher. Insane that these tickets are 1,400 pesos. The cheapest one, the most expensive are just outrageous. But even more than that, and I will get to that too. I think even more than that is I just can't make a commitment to anything 2 years in advance. I think that's very insulting. And I know it's not necessarily Metallica. It's also the promoters, the organizers, the stadium. You know, they have to hold it for everything. For them to take my money for almost 2 years and hold it, and God knows what can happen in 2 years. I shouldn't invoke God's name. That bugs me when people say God forbid or God knows. But who knows what's going to happen in 2 years? Not even related to COVID, but somebody in the band could die. I could die. A million things could happen. You want to plan vacation. I don't even know if I'll be living in Mexico in 2 years. So tickets went on sale in December. 4 months ago. I didn't even look at them, didn't even check out that. And already now it's been 5 months since they announced this, 6 months, and it's still a year and a half away. So that bothers me. Now, again, related to the price. The reason why I guess tickets are so expensive, maybe a couple reasons, and maybe people that know more about the concert industry than I do can school me on this, but my thinking is 2 things. One, I guess now because of COVID, all concerts are more expensive. And I don't know if bands, especially the bigger bands like Metallica, Rod Stewart, I'm going to see Rod Stewart 2 weeks from today. I guess now they have to buy insurance, COVID insurance, and that COVID insurance is expensive. And who pays for it? The fans. All right. But I think even more than that, the thing that I don't like about Metallica doing this, they're only doing, I think it's like 20 or 25 cities on this tour. A few cities in Europe, which starts in like 2 weeks or something. I think Copenhagen and maybe Berlin and Amsterdam, England, London, I mean, and then some in the US this summer. So they're playing Friday and Sunday, okay? And then they have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. They go to the next city. Well, they have to pay their crew for all those off days, not to mention they also have Saturday off too. They have to pay their crew for all those off days, not to mention for each of the 2 shows in one city they're doing, they're having 2 opening bands. So those opening bands also have to get paid, 2 bands, and they have to pay their crew. They have to, there's a lot of money involved. And so basically we're paying for Metallica's downtime. All of these, they're playing only 2 shows a week, 5 days a week off, 7 days in a week, 5 days off minus 2, carry the 1. I don't think you have to carry the 1. That means they're only playing 2 shows a week, 5 off days. We're paying for that. Not to mention they have long breaks between, I think between the European leg and the American leg, they're off maybe for like a month. We're paying, obviously they got to pay their crew. Otherwise their crew would leave to go work for other bands because they got to keep working. So basically we're paying for Metallica to keep all their crew and their whoever else is involved on basically, even though the tour lasts for a year and a half, only 25 shows. Basically, we're paying for them to be on tour for a year and a half, even though it's only 25 cities, which is like 50 shows. So yeah, that really bugs me, and I'm not going to give anybody my money 2 years in advance. I wouldn't book a vacation 2 years in advance. I don't know if I wouldn't plan a wedding 2 years in advance. When I got married, I planned that in less than a year. You tell me I'm going to give some people a lot of money for a concert 2 years in advance, and I will talk about 72 seasons. I haven't forgotten. Nobody's watching at this point. So that really bugs me that they have to do that. And my plan or my hope is I guess I'll see how it goes. I would like to go to all 4 shows, but again, the problem there is it takes me for me to drive to Mexico City takes like an hour. But then to go into the city to where the stadium is, that's maybe closer to 2.5 hours. And it's very expensive, to drive there. There's a caseta, a toll. You don't have to pay. You can take the free road, which takes longer. But it's expensive to drive to Mexico City. It's about, gas, and gas is tremendously expensive relative to the cost of living of everything else in Mexico. So it's a real problem for me, even to go on Friday and Sunday. If I go to 2 shows on the one weekend, think about it. I would leave Friday, go to the show Friday. It's not worth it for me to come back and then drive all the way there again on Sunday. So, but then on the other hand, would I stay in a hotel for 2 days, which also is expensive, and then would I do the whole thing? So then I come home for 4 or 5 days, I guess, work, and then go back and do it all again. So it's very, I would love to go see all 4 shows. In addition to being expensive for the ticket, it's expensive for me to either drive back and forth, not to mention how much time that takes, and just the logistics involved in it. We're staying in a hotel or whatever. But again, that's not something I can think about too much, even now at this point, a year and a half in advance. September 2024. I think late September 2024, which is in the rainiest part of the year, too. It's almost guaranteed that it's going to pour rain at all 4 of those shows. So that's it. So kind of a good thing, bad thing about the tour. But Metallica, they're always doing something different. Good management, I guess, plus they themselves, the band, at least I guess Lars, people give him shit, but he's a smart guy. I think he's the one that really leads Metallica and all these things. So that's it. So I am now going to talk about finally 72 seasons. Now, as I said, I did download it yesterday, and let me put this down for a second. Now they obviously put out 4 songs prior to the album's release. Lux Eterna was the first one on November 28th, and then I can't remember the order. I think If Darkness Had a Sun was next, and then Screaming Suicide, or vice versa. And then the title track, 72 Seasons, came out a few weeks ago. I listened to Lux Eterna that day, and I will get to that shortly. And then I listened to, I think that whatever the next one that came out, either Screaming Suicide or If Darkness Had a Sun. I don't think I listened to that one, and I didn't listen to any of the ones after that. And I used to always think, people used to like say, oh, I want to wait until the album comes out to listen to the whole thing like that. But if you're a fan, don't you want to like be excited? You're excited that your favorite band is putting out new music. But I've kind of changed my mind on that. I don't want to hear 4 songs isolated, and then I think you kind of look at them differently when you listen to the album. So so when I listened to it yesterday, I downloaded it yesterday morning. As soon as I woke up, I was very, very excited. And it was release day, Metallica release day in 2023. Oh, now I should mention also, they were on Jimmy Kimmel this week. They were on there all week. They pre-recorded it, but with some television trickery, they made it appear as if they were there every night. And so the first night they played Lux Eterna, sounded incredible, just perfect, unbelievable how good Metallica is after all these years. And then the next night they played Holier Than Thou, which was very, very strange. I thought, why would you play an old song if you're promoting a new album, especially like Holier Than Thou? It's not like a favorite, but it's also not quite a deep track. And then on Wednesday they played Master of Puppets. Last night, today's Friday, I don't know what they did last night. I didn't watch it last night, or haven't watched it today. I don't even know what song they played. But I watched Master of Puppets on Wednesday. And I was talking about this with my twice aforementioned friend Kevin Montalban. I actually got a lump in my throat watching him play Master of Puppets on Jimmy Kimmel the other night. Just the crowd was so into it. Master! The crowd was into it for a studio audience crowd. And they sound perfect. Now I know a lot of people don't like, obviously James Hetfield doesn't sing the way that he sang when he had just that monster human voice. Shouldn't sound like how he did like around And Justice for All era. He doesn't sound like that, but he's really adjusted his voice. He's not like Paul Stanley or Don Dokken or John Bon Jovi, who have lost their voice. His voice has changed, so he sings the songs differently, and I think he does a great job of adapting his 2023 voice to singing these 80s songs. But man, Master of Puppets was just incredible. Musically, they played it perfectly. Really good. So 72 Seasons, I listened to it twice yesterday. Once on my stereo, and I took some notes here. And I was going to do these stupid notes anyway, regardless of whether I had the record or not. Because obviously I don't know it. But I listened to it on my stereo yesterday morning after I downloaded it. And then took it out for a long walk yesterday, about 6-7 kilometers. Listened to it with headphones. And I took notes about it. That's how dedicated I am. So the title track, so here we go, track by track, 12 songs. The first one is the title track, 72 Seasons. Smokes, killer song. Everything I love about Metallica, at least modern Metallica, this song has now. The very beginning, the first few seconds, reminded me of, and this might be a little bit crazy, of I Like to Rock by April Wine. If anybody knows April Wine, I know my friend Damien in way the fuck down there in Australia, he knows I Like to Rock, and I think Kirk Desmond knows it. Kevin Montalban definitely knows it. That's 4 mentions for Kevin Montalban. My friend Dallas up in Saskatoon, where he's probably still buried in snow in the middle of April, he knows I Like to Rock. Now this will probably be the kind of thing that in some years I'm gonna think, oh yeah, I forgot that song when I first heard it. It reminded me of April Wine, I Like to Rock. I don't know what I was thinking, but my very first thought was, it sounds like, just the very first intro, the first 10 seconds, something like that, sounded like I Like to Rock. It's thrashy. It's not thrash, but it is thrashy. It's very fast, and then it kind of goes into like a tempo of kind of Moth into Flame, Atlas Rise, something like that, which I will talk about. This is almost the same album as Hardwired. I think I'll talk about that later. One little thing about that, though, I thought the chorus in that, or I guess the last line of the chorus, 72 Seasons Gone, it sounds kind of strange. It's too many syllables, 72 Seasons Gone. It just sounds like there's one or two too many syllables. A little bit strange. This is another thing that in after some listens or after a few months or some time, I'm not even going to think about this, but when I first listened to that, because I did follow along with the lyrics. I found the lyrics online. They're everywhere. And so I sat down for 77 minutes and read the lyrics and listened to the album instead of holding the record and reading the lyrics. But I thought 72 seasons gone. It just sounded a little bit awkward. It was quite a mouthful to have that in there. But that's a great song. 7:39. I wrote down the track lengths of all this. 72 seasons was 7 minutes 39 seconds, which is a little bit long. Like Hardwired, the opener on the last album was like 3.5 minutes or something. Love it. 72 seasons. That's for me. That's Metallica. That's classic Metallica there, at least in 2023. Next is Shadows Follow, 6 minutes 12 seconds. My little notes here, just that it had kind of a jerky, janky intro to it. It reminded me a little bit of Broken Beat and Scarred from Death Magnetic. For me, Death Magnetic is as good as anything relative to the time that they came out. I'd put it up there with Master of Puppets, Justice for All. I like Justice for All and Master of Puppets better, of course, but for the expectations that you have at a much later time when they came out, Death Magnetic couldn't have been any better. Love it. One of my favorite albums by any band ever. But again, it has kind of that same kind of like that same tempo, that bounce as Moth into Flame and Atlas Rise. And some of these songs, I don't have too much to say. Screaming Suicide, 5 minutes 31. 5 minutes 31 seconds. Again, it's got that kind of bounce to it, the Moth into Flame, Atlas Rise bounce. And the more I listen to these, I'm sure my opinion will change, good or bad. Hopefully good. Sleepwalk, My Life Away is next. 6 minutes 56 seconds. This one had a little bit of a different tempo. This was it reminded me of Now That We're Dead, which was I think the 4th track on Hardwired to Self-Destruct. A little bit not slower, but it doesn't have the bounce as Moth into Flame, Atlas Rise, Shadows Follow, Screaming Suicide. A little bit of a different tempo. Number 5, You Must Burn! Exclamation point. So I really should say, You Must Burn! Now, this song, when I saw the track listing, when they revealed the track listing many, many months ago, there are certain songs when you see any track listing that the title just appeals to you for whatever reason. And when I saw this title, You Must Burn, especially with that exclamation point, and Atlas Rise had an exclamation point, and Van Halen, Everybody Wants Him, had a double exclamation point, just like Kramer, and Jake Jarmel, double exclamation point. And Van Halen also had Sinner's Swing, which was an exclamation point. And maybe that sold it for me. Now, I know it's just a title, and it's almost as if you were going to, imagine there was a book, and you look at a book, and you look at the cover, and you think, oh, I don't like that cover, therefore, I don't like the book. Or you like the cover, and you think, I'm going to like that book. The point is, you shouldn't judge a book based on the cover. That's something that I just thought of now. That's the analogy I'm making. So you also shouldn't judge, good or bad, a song based on the title. I thought, You Must Burn. That sounds fucking awesome. What a great song title that is. And then I heard the song and I thought, I'm kind of disappointed. For some reason, I thought You Must Burn. It would be like a faster, thrashy, up-tempo, maybe anthemic song. And it's kind of slow. It's in, what did I write about You Must Burn? This one is a little bit slower, heavier, in the same vein as not Atlas Rise and Moth into Flame, but Dreaming No More, and Confusion, also on Hardwired to Self-Destruct. All the songs remind me of something on almost all of them, something on Hardwired to Self-Destruct. These albums are identical, really. Whether you like that or not, I think so anyway. So Lux Eterna is next. This is 3:26, by far the shortest song. Now, when I first heard this, way back on November 28th, I thought, it's okay. Didn't love it. I remember I didn't like the vocal, not the vocals, but the vocal melody. Da, 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 anticipation, indoctrination, whatever it is. I don't know the lyrics. The music was great, but I just didn't like the vocal line. I like it. It's growing on me now. I thought the music was okay, but now that I've listened to this song, and I haven't listened to it too much since it came out in November, although I did download it, that song is awesome now. I love Lux Eterna. Still the vocal line, the melody, I'm not sold on, but it's obviously a very, very, very new wave of British heavy metal. A little bit thrashy. A lot of people said it reminds them of Overkill. Sorry, of Motorhead, the song Overkill, which I disagree with. Other than that, no, I can't do it. The double bass. Other than that, the song doesn't remind me of Overkill by Motorhead at all. Except for also the fake ending. They fake you out of the ending. But that's a great song. Fast and again, not thrash, but thrashy. Very, very fast up tempo. Great song. Two great ones so far out of 6. And a little bit about that. This was something more recently. Kirk's solo in Lux Eterna. Now, when that came out, one of the things I loved, and I talk about for the 5th time with Kevin Montalban, I think it was him, I said, I fucking love that solo. That sounds great. It fits the song. It's ripping. It's heavy metal. It sounds like classic, for me, classic Metallica. And I love Kirk Hammett. I don't care what anybody says. I think I love the solo, but now I guess in the last week or so, he's kind of addressed that. Apparently there are a lot of people, as there always are going to be, who are critical of that. These are people that have never accomplished anything in their lives. Now, if you're not a guitarist and you don't like it, to me that's more understandable. But if you're a guitarist and especially if you're a nobody and you're talking shit about Kirk Hammett's guitar playing, it's not. People say it's too easy. Well, maybe it's easy, but he thought of it. You didn't think of it. You didn't write a solo like his. You're not playing in a band that sold 150, 120 million albums. And I don't know. That's not to say that you have to be in a band or you have to be successful to criticize somebody or to have an opinion about something. But I just can't imagine, and maybe it's because I'm not a musician, I can't imagine what it's like. It must suck to have this attitude of listening to something from the point of a musician and then saying, this doesn't take enough talent. I could play this. And if I can play this, that means it's not good. I don't care if that solo in Lux Eterna is good or not, if it takes talent or not. If Kirk is playing a pentatonic scale or not, or arpeggios or whatever, I don't care. I think that solo sounds fucking awesome and I love it. Next, and then I guess on the, and I guess there would have been 3 songs per side on the album. It's a double album, so it would have been 3, 3, 3, 3. So that would have been the last song on side 2 of the first record, I guess. Next is Crown of Barbed Wire. Kind of an awkward title, I think, Crown of Barbed Wire. What I wrote about this, and something else about Lux Eterna. I didn't write it here, but I did want to point it out. This kind of should have been, I think, and maybe they have to consider running time for this. Sounds to me like Lux Eterna would have been a classic second song. Metallica is very formulaic. And I talked about this when I talked about their discography. For example, if you compare Justice for All and Master of Puppets, they both start and end with a very, very fast, thrashy song. Battery and Damage Incorporated on Master of Puppets, and Blackened and Dyer's Eve on Justice for All. The second song on both of them was a long title track, kind of mid-tempo, a little bit, let's say up-tempo title track, long, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, something like that. They each had, I think, in the 3rd or 4th position, and Justice for All had one more song than Master. 3rd or 4th position was a slow, heavy song. Well, the thing that should not be. And then I guess it was the 4th one on Master of Puppets was Sanitarium, and on Justice for All was One. Not a ballad, but a quieter, more mellow song that does get heavy. Very, very similar. They both had a long instrumental. Orion on Master of Puppets and To Live Is to Die on and Justice for All. And as I mentioned, this 72 Seasons and Hardwired are really the same thing. And I thought Lux Eterna would have been the second song, but maybe they have to consider the running order when they make the records. They got to fit them in, I guess, almost like a puzzle. And I think I'll talk about the running order a little bit later, maybe at the end. Crown of Barbed Wire, I just had that it was kind of a mid-tempo part, a mid-tempo song, and it had a cool, kind of a heavy part in the middle, I guess, that leads into the solo. Maybe similar to maybe how the intro, the solo to Sad But True comes in, or maybe also Dream No More. I'm not sure. Number 8, Crown of Barbed Wire is 5:49, a little bit shorter by Metallica standards. Number 8, Chasing Light, 6 minutes, 45 seconds. The only thing that I noticed about this on the first listen anyway was the Lean On Me, the backing vocals. You don't really hear backing vocals in Metallica music or Metallica songs. It's Hetfield doing the main backing vocal, but you can hear, I guess it's Trujillo maybe doing it too. But Lean On Me, backing vocals there. Now, number 9, If Darkness Had a Sun, 6:36. And I know, this is stupid, but I know that Creeping Death is also 6:36. At this point, I was thinking, all right, some of these songs are kind of starting to sound the same, or nothing is really standing out. Again, it had kind of that same tempo, the kind of bouncy, like this. If you were banging your head, you'd be banging your head like this, or tapping your foot like this, as Atlas Rise and Moth into Flame. And then the next one, Too Far Gone, 4:34. I just wrote, yeah, same thing, it's that same tempo. Nothing really stood out to me. Nothing got my attention. Room of Mirrors, number 11, 5:34. This one had a little bit of a different tempo. This was a little bit gallopy. It reminded me of Lords of Summer. I'm not saying it sounds like Lords of Summer, but it did have that same tempo as Lords of Summer, like a gallopy, faster thing. Not fast and thrashy like Hardwired, or Spit Out the Bone, or 72 Seasons, or Lux Eterna, but faster than the other ones that I mentioned: Atlas Rise, Moth into Flame, Shadows Fall, what's it called? Shadows Follow, Screaming Suicide. And then the last one is Inamorata. This is the longest one on the album. It's 11 minutes, 12 seconds. Kind of surprising that it's not a thrashy one like Spit Out the Bone, closed Hardwired. And before that, My Apocalypse. Oh my God, what a song that is. Closed Death Magnetic. Inamorata, 11 minutes, 12 seconds, which I think is around the same length as Outlaw Torn or Bleeding Me. It's a long one anyway. This was, I guess, the most original one. Not necessarily my favorite. I think it has potential to be a favorite. But it was, I remember it had a middle section that was kind of cool. It was a bass and it was kind of quiet, and that kind of got my attention. But I unfortunately read yesterday some I guess it was Kirk and Rob going through the track by track, similar to what I'm doing. And they talked about Inamorata, saying that it sounds like Black Sabbath. I think both of them said it was their favorite song on this album. And that kind of makes me think that now everybody's going to say that it sounds like Black Sabbath. When I listened to it twice yesterday before I read them saying this, I didn't hear any Black Sabbath at all. But maybe that's just me. I can't argue with the guys who wrote or who played on the song. If they want to say it sounds like Black Sabbath, I can't argue with that. I didn't get that. And of course, people are going to compare it to Outlaw Torn, because Outlaw Torn closed Load and it was long, and it was kind of in the same, I guess in the same vein. But I have hope for Inamorata. So that's it, track by track. Now, overall for this album, one small stupid thing. There were 3 songs that had a little bit at the end. Inamorata had it for sure. Inamorata. A little bit of, you can hear them talking in the studio at the end of the song. All right. Now, one of them, maybe it's probably the second or third song, which would be Shadows Follow or Screaming Suicide. The song ends, and then you hear someone say, "Nice." I guess it's Greg Fidelman, the producer. And another song, maybe it's Crown of Barbed Wire or Chasing Light. You hear Lars at the end. I think he says something like, I don't know, he says something like, "That was the best one yet," something like that. And then at the end of Inamorata, you hear all of it, I think Lars and James kind of discussing things. And it makes me wonder, and I don't really care, but it's just something that I thought of. You know, Metallica, I think, is kind of known or at least accused of, I don't know if it's ever been proven, that they really piece things together, that they just play little parts and then they copy and paste everything together, especially starting with Justice for All. Now, I don't know if they do this, and this is, I don't want to be conspiracy theory, and it's such a stupid thing also. Are they, now I have no doubt that these conversations were real, but did they actually, or not conversations, but these little comments? How can I explain this? I almost feel like they left them in there so people could say, ah, wow, they really recorded it live in the studio as opposed to they were playing all together rather than just, you know, doing recording track by track. I'm not sure if I explained that properly, and I'm not saying that that's it, but I got the feeling that, 3 times or 3 songs where you can hear talking at the end, which kind of makes me think, wow, they were playing live. They were playing live in the studio. I'm not sure. I don't think I explained that properly, but anyway, that's a minor thing. Over the guitar solos, I mentioned Kirk's solo in Lux Eterna, how great it was. Generally speaking, like all the guitar solos, I love them. Kirk Hammett is, I don't know if I mentioned, one of my favorite guitarists ever, despite his pentatonic scales and his arpeggios and his sweeping picking style, or his wah, as people like to complain about. I think Kirk Hammett is fucking awesome. I loved him when I was 13, 14 years old, and I love him now when I'm 53 years old. Kirk Hammett is underrated in Metallica. Maybe people don't give Kirk Hammett enough credit in Metallica, especially these days. So it does follow the classic Metallica template of Hardwired. But it's too long. It's 77, 78 minutes or something like that. And I've talked about this before. Albums are just too long. 77 minutes is far too long. When I got to around the 8th or 9th song, I started to think, this album is still going, really? It's just too long. I can't. I've talked about this many times. I can find time. I can find 35, 40, 45 minutes a day to listen to a record. I can't always find 77 minutes to sit down and listen to a record. 12 songs. I don't know if it's that the songs are too long or that 12 is too many songs. I think they have that same problem with Load. I think even with the Black Album. The Black Album was the first album they did, for me, where there were a couple of songs. There were 12 songs on that one too. A couple of songs that I didn't love. I think like Through the Never and Don't Tread on Me. I just thought, yeah, they were okay. Whereas every album before that, I loved every song. Every song was amazing. And then Load was the first album that they did. There were 12 on that, 12 or 14, I can't remember. Where I thought there were some songs that they should have left off. I thought you could focus more, take away some things, and then you focus more on what's there. Which is maybe also why I love Death Magnetic so much, because they had the 4 extra tracks: Rebel of Babylon, Hate Train, Just a Bullet Away, and whatever the 4th song was that they released as the EP a year or 2 later after Death Magnetic, which is called Beyond Magnetic. If they had added those 4 songs to Death Magnetic and made it a double album, I wouldn't have loved that album as much as I do. And as I said, for me, that's as good as anything when it comes to Metallica. If they had added those 4 songs, it would have taken away, as a full album, would have taken away from the great songs that were there. And I could say the same thing about Hardwired for sure. Murder One, that song, I would say borderline sucks. Man Unkind is not very good. Here Comes Revenge. Those, I could have done without those songs. Although I'm sure there are people who, that's probably their 3 favorite songs. So if let's say Chasing Light is number 8, if Darkness Had a Sun is 9, if those had been the 2nd and 3rd and 4th songs, maybe I would have liked them, or in those positions, maybe I would have liked them more. But because they're kind of buried at the end, you're kind of a little bit, you get listener fatigue, I think, by the end, which is, I think, why bands, especially Metallica, end with a good one, because they kind of bring you back. So it's just too long. And Red Hot Chili Peppers are the most egregious and bad example of that, releasing 2 albums this year of 17, or last year of 2 songs of 17 songs each, 2 albums of 17 songs each. That's a little bit much. And just the overall sound of the album, it sounds awesome. It sounds exactly like Hardwired. There's no difference. Similar to Iron Maiden with Peace of Mind and Power Slave. It sounds like they recorded one, left the studio, came back a year later, nobody touched anything, and they recorded another album. All the Rat albums, Out of the Cellar, Invasion of Your Privacy, Dancing Undercover, Reach for the Sky, Detonator, those albums all sounded exactly the same, and nothing wrong with that. in some ways it's actually good. I'm just saying that and Metallica has a really a very, very distinct sound and style. I talked about Motley Crue earlier this week, that they never really found, you would never hear Motley Crue and say that's Motley Crue if you didn't know, I mean, without hearing the vocals. But Metallica, you hear Metallica and you know it's Metallica, even without the vocals. Sonically and stylistically, Metallica, they have their own style and sound. So that's it. I think that is all. Finally, this was probably, I have no idea how long that was. You can see it on YouTube. Must be close to an hour. So anyway, now I'm getting back to my salty mood because I'm thinking about how much Mexico sucks like this. But we have 350 days a year of sun, so that kind of makes up for the crap that I have to put up with. That is worth a lot. So that's it. Whether I'll buy the album or not, I probably will. Knowing me, I tend to get a little bit heated in the moment, and then when I cool down, I think more rationally and logically. So I probably will buy it. I won't make a special trip, I don't think. Just when I get around to it, I'll buy it. But one of the few bands that I can still buy their stuff. So that's it for it. You can imagine that I'm holding it up right now, a big yellow. And I love the album cover, by the way, too. I think it's great. Metallica album covers since the Black Album have sucked. Load and Reload are horrible. Death Magnetic was pretty shitty. Hardwired sucked for sure. I think I like 72 Seasons. I like the yellow. It's kind of a, yellow is bright and it's very unmetal. I like it. And I like the concept of it. 72 Seasons. It's the formative years, the first 18 years of your life. I feel almost like I like everything about the album except about 8 of the songs. But I hope that will change. Remember, this is very, very early, and I've seen people talking about this album, saying that it's their favorite Metallica album. Are you fucking nuts? How can you listen to an album once from a band that's been around for 40 years, listen to an album once and say it's their best album? Unless you, or even some people are, because we have a tendency to compare it, and I'm drawing this out now, to always compare it to the last one. So I think it's easier to compare this to Hardwired than it is to Master of Puppets. But even, how can you listen to it for one day, and unless you hated Hardwired, which I don't know how you could hate one and love the other one, or vice versa. To me, they're pretty much the same thing, just the songs are a little bit different. But people get carried away. So anyway, that's what I think about 72 Seasons. So as I was saying, imagine I'm holding up this nice big yellow, beautiful, delicious, juicy record, and you just heard me talking about it, and you're saying, yes, I love Metallica too, I'm going to go buy it. Then I did my job. But I'm not holding that up, but hopefully you'll still like Metallica like I do. I will never, ever dislike Metallica. So that's all for 72 Seasons. Yes!